Well, thank you so much for joining me today. As we get started, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself, your district, where you work, and your role?
Absolutely. My name is Micah Kennedy. I am a director of curriculum in Huntley District 158. As the director of curriculum, I oversee all things related to equity, grants, and college and career readiness. So included in that is SchooLinks and our implementation with SchooLinks and working with our teams and counselors with that. Our district, just to give you a little overview, is just a little over 8,500 students, pre-K through 12 plus. Um, we have about 13% of our students with IEPs. About 18% of our students are low income, and then our population is becoming more diverse every year.
That's great. So just getting in, you already mentioned SchooLinks. Want to ask a couple questions, kind of a little bit about your implementation and adoption of SchooLinks. We've discussed a little bit earlier before about your experience so far and how your students use SchooLinks, but can you share what Huntley's approach was for how they implemented SchooLinks?
Absolutely. We created a 3-year plan. So we created a 3-year college and career framework. We knew ultimately that the state of Illinois was moving to what's called the PACE framework with some of their new legislation, and needs to be implemented by July 1 of 2025. And so during our first 3 years with SchooLinks, we created a college and career framework, which is going to create opportunities for us to embed how we utilize SchooLinks with our counselors, with our CTE teachers, and other avenues that we work with. And it will just build into this PACE framework by July 1 of 25.
So how does SchooLinks then align with the PACE framework? We obviously have a lot of Illinois districts who each approach it slightly differently. So how does Huntley do it, and what benefits has this alignment provided for you and your students?
Absolutely. There's no right or wrong way to do it. We really benefit a lot from the assessments and activities within SchooLinks. So our big focus this year has been pretty much laying out the PACE framework at our middle school level in grades 6 through 8, which SchooLinks has been a huge asset for. So we do this by embedding it into what is called our creative communications class. Creative communications is a required elective that students need to take in grades 6, 7, and 8. And every year students do different projects. So in grade 6, one of the things they need to do is they need to introduce somebody else in their classroom. And so we're like, okay, this is a great place to use SchooLinks. We'll do the top skills and the learning skills. And so now when they're talking to their partner, they can be like, how do you learn best? And what are some skills that you have? And then they integrate that into their partner presentation. When they're doing, in 7th grade, they're doing a monologue of self. And so they're doing the would you rather assessment. So who do you want to be? And so therefore they take on the persona of who they want to be when they grow up. And then when they're in 8th grade, they do a speech on to their future self. So they do the game of life. And so really it kind of takes all those things that they've embedded into those experiences. And instead of just, saying you can talk about whatever you want, it's created more structure in that class. So now that they're talking about their futures, doing some research on that in order to move forward.
I love that progression. It seems like it's a great way to build off of it year after year. So you mentioned the creative communications course. What kind of outcomes have you then observed from students doing those activities?
So this is our first year doing that. So we have been able to see our students go through the onboarding. They're getting in there and just poking around, and they are more engaged with this. So we had a different platform before SchooLinks a couple years ago. And the last couple years when we were looking at it, and I wasn't here at that time, but I was able to look at the data, we had like on average 500 logins to that other tool. And we are getting thousands, tens of thousands of logins with SchooLinks because it just allows us to look at students and connect with them in a different way. And the students really appreciate that. It's really user friendly. And the thing that we've really been able to observe in terms of outcomes, and I'm going to talk a little bit about data as well, is that when we think about our students, we don't just put numbers on their heads. They're not a test score and things like that. We look at that whole student. And SchooLinks has really made it easier for us to do that because within SchooLinks, we can look at what they're interested in. We can look at some of their other skills and assessments. We can pull in information from our student information system. We can really be not a full one-stop shop, but it's pretty much a one-stop shop for everything that we need. And especially as they move through high school with the college and career readiness indicators and those things. So it really keeps a profile for those students, and it allows us to look at them in a more holistic view than just looking at those numbers.
Now, you mentioned just the one course, the creative communications. Are there other courses that it's embedded into, or have you built other lessons to integrate or adopt SchooLinks with?
Absolutely. So within the middle school, it mainly lives in that creative communication space, but in the high school, we use what are called Raider Way lessons. This is kind of a homeroom. It isn't scheduled specific time, but it's when we feel like we need one, we can add one. And so with those Raider Way lessons, we can, do 4-year planning. We can do videos essentially, and then kids can walk through the activities. We've also worked a lot with our CTE team in order to help them identify where the best places are for them to be able to connect with this platform. So they are using it in their courses for work-based learning opportunities. They're using it to connect with employers. They're using it for students to track all the different things that they've been doing during their time in high school. As of course, like I said before, you're planning and tools like that for our counseling team. So we are integrating this as much as we can, but really it's living in our counseling team and our CTE team at the high school.
That's great. Now, you're 2 years into your implementation. What kind of changes or shifts have you noticed in, like you said, either the student engagement aspect or the student outcomes from before you were using SchooLinks to now? And you kind of mentioned a little bit about a previous platform you were using.
Yeah, so it was difficult before because with that platform, kids didn't use it. We struggled with the single sign-on, which has not been an issue with SchooLinks. They did an assessment, the only way to be able to have that student take that assessment again was if you kind of wipe things clean. And so with SchooLinks, the things that we've really been able to notice is that students can see their own progression. So we have them do the would you rather and the find your path at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. We did that last year. We've done it again this year. And it's really exciting that, A, we don't need to clear everything every time, but number two, that students can look at where they've been and where they're at. Because students have new lived experiences and they've taken different classes, and through that they can actually learn new things and grow. I hope that students change their mind as they go through middle school and high school and what they want to do. And this allows them to do that, but it also allows them to see their growth and progression and see if there's trends in what they're interested in. Maybe it's not this thing, maybe it's not that thing, but they're both in human services. Maybe that's my connection. And so the more that they're doing these things, we can actually recognize those, and students are starting to do that. So now that we have 2 years of data, we are going to start implementing that, kind of digging in next year, where students are going to do some of that reflective work on, okay, now I've done this thing 5 times at the beginning of next school year. Where were they and where are they? Because that is really important for them to realize their growth through this process.
And I'm sure it's awesome for self-reflections as well, like
Yeah.
just seeing that before and after. Last question here, just about our implementation and integration. Can you mention anything about the high schools? And I think you mentioned when we talked previously about a personal finance course. I know financial literacy is super important. What kind of aspects of that does it cover?
Yeah, so we utilize SchooLinks in our personal finance class. So personal finance is that consumer ed requirement that students need to take. Some students just take consumer ed, and so we're embedding it within that course as well. But basically with this, game of life is really the thing that happens. And I said we use it in 8th grade, but yes, we do use it again in the students' sophomore and junior year, because now in 8th grade, they're still trying to figure themselves out. By sophomore, junior year, they're starting to have a stronger sense of self, and they're starting to think about where they could go to college. How much is that going to cost? What's my return on investment? And so utilizing that game of life activity really starts to bring all of those things together, and then they can talk about their personal finances and what that financial literacy component looks like as they grow, and they can utilize this platform and really look into how much is this going to cost me? But again, the main thing to focus on here is that return on investment.
It's perfect. All right, so shifting gears a little bit, and you kind of already segued this slightly to the collaborations with other departments. How have any partnerships that you've had with local community colleges also enhanced your college and career readiness initiatives?
Absolutely. We are currently working through lots of things with our local community college. So McHenry County College is a great partner. We've grown dual credit, we've grown our dual degree program where students go there. But within SchooLinks, we are trying to embed and connect even more. And so McHenry County College is kind of the workforce hub for the county. And so when we work together, there's actually a large group of us that work together called the Manufacturing Pathways Consortium. It has over 200 people involved in this project. It's got every high school involved. It's got over 80 employers. It's got over 14 different community organizations. And MCC kind of acts as the glue that holds all of this together. And through that, we've been able to do learning sessions with different companies in order to pull them into SchooLinks and have them post opportunities and really create those opportunities for our students, because that's what this is all about. And when we do that, we don't just say, hey, this is something for Huntley. We also connect it to all of our other partners. So within McHenry County, over half of the county actually utilizes SchooLinks. So a majority of the high schools do. And so when we get one company to come in, we say, hey, make sure you click on all these other places as well, because there's strength in numbers. And when they post those opportunities, they can post them to other schools as well. Because something that might be beneficial for us or might not be beneficial for us for a company in our area might be beneficial for somebody just to the north of us that a student could take advantage of, and vice versa. So we try to create as many opportunities as we can for our students to connect with the platform. And again, NCC has been a great partner as we do this in order to help find those ways to feed into it.
That's great. So how are also various departments across the district working together? You mentioned like school counseling as well as CTE, and from our perspective at SchooLinks, when we're just introducing SchooLinks for the first time, sometimes districts struggle with that aspect of getting those departments to work together. So how did it work for you guys?
Those are our two main departments that work together, our CTE department and our counseling department. And when we think about SchooLinks in our district, those are the two main departments that get impacted by this, because the CTE is focusing on those college and career pathway endorsements and the work-based learning opportunities and growing employers. And counselors are thinking about how can we use this for college and career searches, scholarships, financial literacy, return on investment. And so they're each using it in a slightly different way, but at the same time, they're realizing that the skills that they're offering actually overlap quite a bit, because ultimately the students that are doing this, they need a job, and they're getting that from the CTE team, and those CTE people could use some of the college and career skills that the counselors have. So we've had multiple meetings and trainings together with SchooLinks where we bring the CTE team and the counseling team together and put them in the same room, and they have conversations. And I want to say that it was incredibly easy because nobody went in there with a this is my thing and this is your thing. Everybody kind of went in there as this is kind of my vision, and they said this is my vision, and then they realized that those visions could actually overlap, and they have found strength in that, and it's actually made my job fairly easy and not having to push on them too much. But we do have those opportunities to pull them in together multiple times throughout the year. And again, when we do a training within SchooLinks, we don't just do it for the counselors. We also pull in those CTE teachers as well, because typically a lot of those same tools that the counselors are going to need to know, the CTE teachers are going to need to know. And as we get more teachers involved in this, they're finding new and creative ways to embed it into their class. So it's being used in other parts of the curriculum that I don't even know. And that's amazing. So I know that I can log in and I'd be like, well, there's 100 more logins today. And I can see they're all from one class. And I'm like, okay, obviously this teacher was able to get in and find something useful and beneficial with this. And it was a math teacher or a science teacher. So different people are using this, and we're able to make those connections because, as I said earlier, it's very user friendly. And everybody who says, I want to get in there and do blank, it's pretty easy to find whatever that blank is.
So the work smarter, not harder
Work
mindset.
smarter, not harder. Absolutely.
Um, just want to shift a little bit to think about kind of the successes you've had as well as future goals. In your opinion, what have been some of the key successes or standout moments that you've had in utilizing SchooLinks for your college and career readiness programming?
The biggest thing has been data collection. Data collection has been difficult previously, especially if you think about in Illinois the college and career readiness indicator process. All the data that you need to collect for that is rather challenging. SchooLinks creates a platform essentially where we can do that. So it has all the different things that we need, and then at the end of the year, we can just hit export and we get the report that we need to upload to the state. And so that creates so much consistency on our part because as students do work-based learning, as they have a job, as they're taking courses, they just log it directly into SchooLinks. And again, it makes our process much easier. So data collection has been probably the number one thing. And the number two thing is just consistency and ease of use. Because it is so easy to use, people are using it more. And so people are going in, students are going in, teachers are going in, parents are going in, and they're actually making those connections. So through this process, I think that has been another huge lift is that the consistency and ease of use has made it easier for people to get in, and just the platform itself makes people want to use it.
It's half the battle sometimes.
Yeah.
How do you imagine or envision the continued evolution and utilization of SchooLinks within your district?
As we continue to build out our PACE framework, we are going to be embedding even more into SchooLinks. So we are maybe not going to use every assessment or every activity, and we might end up creating some of our own. But the activities that we do create that are our own, we're going to build within SchooLinks because we can still assign them to students. We can still assign them to grade levels and say that they need to do those things. So it is incredibly important to make sure that everybody knows that this is the place to go. And again, with the single sign-on, we have it in all of our bookmarks. So every student, they just need to go to their class link and they can click on it and it pops right up. So it's right on their front page all the time. It's really going to help us as we build out that PACE framework, though, over the next year and a little bit here in order to make sure that it is something that we're confident in. And we're also going to try to embed it into more courses. As I said, we've seen more teachers starting to pick it up and use it now. I'm curious to see how those are evolving and kind of engage some of those conversations and see if we can get other teachers in some of those other disciplines to get involved in the program.
Perfect. And last question I just usually like to ask people is if you were a district who was thinking about using SchooLinks but still exploring, would you have any advice for them that you'd like to give about your experience?
Just do it. It is the transition from our old system to this system was one of the smoothest transitions that we've ever done with a major software. It has been the SchooLinks team is phenomenal and super easy to work with. Anytime we have a question, they're super responsive. And this is a program that is appealing and eye-catching, and students actually want to use it. And so we have seen a huge growth in the amount of information that students can get from this because students want to be in it, as I've said before. So just to take that plunge and, try it out, because once you get in there and start clicking around, it's kind of so simple. I don't know how else to say it. Like, I want to do an activity. I want to do an assessment. Okay, then I'm going to come over here, click on activities, click on assessments. Done. Here are the 7 assessments that we have to do. Great, I've already done them. I'm going to do them again. It has changed how we do business. It's changed how we collect data. It's changed the way that we can view students. And we will not be going backwards because of this. We can only move forward, and it's exciting to know where we can go.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights. I'm sure everyone that watches this will feel like they've learned something. So thank you so much for talking with me today.
Absolutely. Thank you.